All right, Erie. Happy Monday. It is June 23rd, 2025. The sun is shining. It's going to be a beautiful Monday as we welcome you into Flagship City Sports Talk, part of the Gem City Sports Network, brought to you by Quick Fill. Paul Adamczak here, filling in for Nick Artman once again today, but I'm not alone. Chiming in via satellite this morning, I'm very pleased to have our sports insider, Isaac Petcash, with us. IP, how was your weekend, brother?
Oh, man, it was awesome. We spent the whole weekend laying low because my son got his tonsils out on Friday.
Oh,
Happy
unlimited ice cream.
Unlimited ice cream popsicles. He's big into that
Hey,
too.
I love
He
it.
is a warrior. I will tell you that. I was more of a baby when I got my tonsils out, and I was like 8 or 9 years old. So this kid's a trooper. He wanted to go on the swing set as soon as he got home. So kudos to him.
I love it. I love it, man. And as always, we're also joined by our award-winning producer, the great and powerful Rich Smith. How are you, my friend?
Let me reach into my back pocket and get you a 10.
Wait, I thought you were going to give me 5 earlier.
Well, I had to save 10 for him. No, not too bad. We were talking off mic a little bit ago. I spent I should say weekend, but weekend plus.
Yes.
Wading into my 16-year-old son's room.
Oh my gosh.
There is not a, chaos theory is the best indicator I can give you for that one.
I imagine so.
Yeah.
We got into a little bit of chaos this weekend as well. Isaac, I was telling Rich about this. I was like, I can't say all these details on air. I will give you the 30,000 foot view. My wife and I were at some work function for her. We're meeting some people. It's a very professional group of individuals. I am definitely the least professional person there, but I'm being quiet, so it's all good. We are at a community pool at which we were invited to and allowed to go to. And long story short, you've heard of HOA Karen? Okay, so she lives at this HOA, right? This pool. She basically kicked out the calmest, least rambunctious group of well-educated individuals and me out of this pool and threatened the cops on us and everything. We're like, there are babies here. A 10-month-old was with us and they're just kind of hanging out in the end of the pool. And we're leaving and we're like, oh, they changed the name of the group chat to HOA's Most Wanted. The mother of this 10-month-old was like, oh, this is Cameron's first felony. It was it was the least drama-filled. Oh my gosh, it was quite a weekend at the community pool. I will say that.
Run-ins with the fun police are the best.
Oh my gosh, I was like, do you just wake up to can't wait to follow the rules? I don't know. I was so put off. We were around my wife's bosses and stuff. So I was like, I'm just not going to say anything. I'm just wherever you need me to go. But I had a few comments that I held to myself. I had to get that off my chest, guys. I appreciate you listening to that one. The HOA police in Akron, Ohio were out in full force yesterday morning. All right, Hallie in here with us as well, keeping us on track, ready to capitalize on all those viral moments we're sure to create. Fellas, we got a big one today. Let's get into the show. Before we do that, don't forget, you can listen anytime, anywhere on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, be sure to give us a follow or a shout out on Twitter at GemCitySN. I'm at RufusP88. Isaac's handle is at IJP Broadcasting. Today, big show. Save an I game is this Friday. Lots of things to talk about with that. New players, different rules, new location. We'll get into all of it. Plus, we'll hear from both coaches. Coach Sobolewski from the Metro squad will join us at 9:15. Then we'll go back-to-back with Coach Goodwill from the County squad at 9:30. And later, we'll hash out the biggest stories in sports when they play our favorite game, Overreaction Monday. So let's do this. Lots to do, so little time. Let's get into the North Shore Rewind. Rich, tickle those hotkeys.
I think it worked.
I think it worked too. Isaac, let's talk about the Save an I. Just a few days away from the 87th annual Save an I game, the second oldest high school football all-star game in the nation. And this year, there's a twist. There's a new venue. We're going to be at Paul J. White Stadium out in Harbor Creek. That is 7 p.m. Friday, June 27th. You can listen to it live right here on 105.9 FM and TalkErie.com. Isaac and I will be on the call. Isaac, Lions Club did a turf facility request for proposal county-wide, and Harbor Creek stood out. Can you tell us why?
I just think Harbor Creek, A, it's got a great facility, and B, I was going to say, Paul, I'm amongst the minority in this group that I think, everyone has talked about, okay, you got to keep the Save and I where it's always been traditionally, right? It's always been at that stadium.
Right.
I love the idea of moving it around. I think what this gives is an opportunity for a lot of people who don't necessarily follow the game of high school football, and there aren't many of that in the region, but the ones that don't, a chance to get to go to these different locations and see the county side of football year by year. And I
Yeah.
think what this is hopefully going to do, and again, I don't know what their plans are moving forward, but I think what this gives an opportunity to is credence for other football stadiums and high schools to be able to host this game. Harbor Creek's always been a great venue. It was always a pleasure to get to cover games down there. They got a really passionate fan base there as well, as I'm sure Coach Soboleski will talk about in a few minutes when we have him on. But I really love the idea of moving this game around. Whether it's at Harbor Creek, whether you move it back and maybe you have it at McDowell, maybe you have it
Yes.
wherever you want to have it, right? But I think giving it an opportunity to be able to move and breathe around is a really neat thing. And yeah, 87 years strong for this game. Anybody who knows football in this area knows this game. But I think the cool thing about it, Paul, when we get into some of the players that we'll see and whatnot, is that a lot of these players have had siblings or family members that have also played in this game, which makes
Absolutely.
lineage of family heritage and history and something that we all get to be excited to be a part of. And I'm the lucky guy. I get to help call the game and don't have to do much prep. So you'll hear a lot of Paul, a little of me, which I think is a good thing for a lot of people on.
Something I thought about, Isaac, as we were going into it. I used to do like 40, 50 games a year, basketball, wrestling, football. I'm down to one. This is the only game I strap it on for every year. It is my favorite game. I don't know, maybe like outside of the Super Bowl. Maybe this trumps it because I'm actually involved with it. You talk about the player experience in this game. It's only for graduated seniors. It's going to be their last high school game. Some of these guys will play again. Many of them don't. So what's so great about it is you get a mix of college committed students. You get some small school stars that maybe Greater Erie County hasn't gotten a chance to see, but only read their name in the paper, or they heard about it on Flagship City Sports Talk. And you've got also a number of multi-sport athletes. So you've got football only players along with guys who are just getting out of baseball season or just finish up with track. I thought Jeff Uvino from Go Erie did a great job. He got some player interviews. They express a lot of excitement to represent their school and their community. One last time, Isaac, I'll ask you, what do you think this game means to the kids, especially the ones who aren't playing football beyond this game, beyond high school?
Yeah, it's a great question. And I worked, of course, in TV for 5 years, so I had a chance to talk to a lot of these kids for Save and I and do some feature stories on them. And there was always one line that each of these kids brought up every single time, and it was that I love that this game is competitive. I mean, we see
Yes.
so often, right, in the pro sphere, even really the college sphere, where these all-star games that you have are essentially redundant. No one really cares. No one pays attention. There's not that excitement level that you typically would see maybe 10, 15, 20 years ago in all-star games. Well, this is different. For a lot of these kids, you mentioned they're going to go to college, and that's important, but this is the last chance they get potentially to really have some quality playing time in a game. And the great thing about it, too, is they're playing with and against their rivals. And so I think there's still that level of competitiveness. I think anytime you take a kid out of a sport, as you've taken them out of football for 6, 7 months, and you give them a chance to play a game again, they're going to strap on the pads. But that's, I think, one thing and one reason people should really come out is that the competitive level is through the roof. And to be able to see these kids really do yeoman's work when it comes to preparing for a game and a sport that they probably have not been preparing for quite some time is really exciting. And it's really neat because you just don't see many people opting out. You see a lot of excitement for this game, and the rosters are great too. So for me, it's the competitive factor and the fact that these kids want to win just as much as they'd want to win during their normal high school season.
If not more. We love it, man. All right, that is the Save and I football game, the 87th annual. The only older is in Texas. That'll be June 27th, this Friday, 7 p.m. at Harbor Creek. We'll have the full broadcast live right here on TalkErie.com and 105.9 FM, pregame, kickoff, all of it. Still ahead this hour, the Seawolves hit 30 years at UPMC Park. We've got some player spotlights for the Save and I you don't want to miss. That was the North Shore Rewind, and we'll be back with Coach Soboleski when we come back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. Paul Adamczak, Isaac Petcash joining you this morning. We're also joined by Coach Mark Sobolewski. He's the head coach at Fairview High School. He's going to be the head coach for the Metro squad coming up this Friday. So welcome, Coach Sobolewski. Not your first time coaching in the Save and I. What does it mean to be selected for your third head coaching trip?
It means that I'm getting up in my age. I've coached it
There
3 times. There you go. It just tells me I'm getting to the golden stage, the gray hair stage of coaching this game. It's an honor to be chosen to do it. It's a long process to get it from adoption of the players that you're going to have, to get all the paperwork done, to get through the practices, but to get the game week, it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to it.
Has the process changed at all in now this being your third time?
Well, having it played this early in the summer is much more. It's better for us as a football staff to be able to coach our guys. To do it at the same time, it's kind of rough. Puts a lot of taxing on your coaching staff and getting guys to be able to be there every day. And so it's nice having it earlier in the summer.
Yeah. Does it being earlier, obviously nicer for the coaches because you get, more time to prepare for your actual football season this fall. Do you feel like it gets you more players? Because I feel like one of the reasons they moved it back was the preponderance of players to sort of like, these guys are playing college football. The college coaches don't want them to play after a certain date. Let's get them all in before July 1st, before all those guys head off to camp. Do you feel like there's more guys willing to play?
I think so. There's a lot of draws on these kids' time, especially this summer before they go off to start their lives. And college football being one of them, we've got some kids that went to the service academies that couldn't play. So there's a lot of draws that pull the kids out of this game. So I think it does help being right as school ends to have this game happen.
Fair enough. Putting the rosters together. I did it one time. I was a part of one staff, and I know it was crazy last minute. You get you put down 50 or 55 players, and you're kind of lucky if 30 or 35 of them show up and are willing to do what. Tell me about that. Is there a whole coaching staff? Do you get together with other coaches? I think, was it first team region all-stars or automatic bids? And then from there, you get to kind of pick the lot. How do you pick that next lot?
We were pretty stuck with the group that was all region. The kids that were all region numbered over, I think it was in the upper 40s.
Oh, okay.
And we had to kind of whittle that down from there. So we were pretty locked into our roster of who we were getting. But for the most part, that was the kids that would have been, you would have picked anyway. So it was pretty easy for us on that end. It was a matter now of who's not playing,
right,
and start to kind of whittle down from there.
Right. Go ahead, Isaac.
Coach, it's good to see you. I think you give yourself not enough credit with the whole getting up there in age. I feel that, and I'm 25. I'm starting to get a little tweak in the back there. So any advice you can give, I'll take. We've talked about beforehand, and you heard us say, and you and I know this, Paul knows this, that this is such a family game, right? You played back in the 80s. Your son played in 21, I believe was the year. Can you just take us through from that perspective what this game means to the players and just the competitive level? Because I'm not sure. I think when people hear All-Star game, they think, well, it's a glorified exhibition, which sure, but can you speak to the competitive level that these guys have when they step out onto that field?
Well, I lost the game when I played, so I've never gotten over it. So that should tell you about as much as you need to know. I've got friends that still needle me that played in the game against me, and they will never let me forget the fact that the county beat the city that year. So I think there's just a natural competitiveness, that these kids get when they come into this game to represent their school, represent the group of teams they're playing for. It's a little unique. This year people keep asking me, there's Fairview and Harbor Creek playing with the Metro or the city, whatever you want to call us. So that's a little unique. That's a little different than the other years I've done it. It was always strictly city versus county. So I think it's a nice twist to it. There's some, like we mentioned, the great quarterback class that we're going to have in there this year. Pretty dynamic group. So it's exciting. And I'm anxious to get through this week. This is the hard part. And the last couple of practices we wrap up here, but pretty impressive group that we've got, and I'm pretty excited to coach them.
You've mentioned just the talent on the roster, right? And we could list down the guys on the Metro, whether it's from your squad, Harbor Creek, of course, you've got Prep and McDowell there, as well as Erie High, Mercyhurst Prep's part of it. What's the key to managing all of those players and making sure that they get equal playing time, but also you want to win the game, of course, but what's just the key to managing everybody, making sure everyone gets a crack, but also attempting to win the game at the same time?
It's really stressful, to be honest with you. That's really the hard part. is to make sure everybody gets their due diligence. Everybody gets their time out on that field. And then on top of that, there's only one football, and to kind of talk to these guys as we practice. You got to understand we're going to try to get you the ball, but it's not going to be every play like you might have been used to in high school or every other play. So they've got to be patient. We've got to talk to them a lot about that, because I've seen it go sideways where guys aren't seeing the ball as much as they're used to. And I'm going back to when I played in the game and literally shutting down and not playing. So they've got to understand that, this game is going to take a little bit of, trying to be fair to everybody and also try to win the game is really the tough part. So I've got to be able to find a way to get the ball to, certain guys so that they're ready to go in the second half and into the fourth quarter. And that is the challenge. It's actually kind of stressful.
So how do you approach this game? Obviously you want to win. Are you going to try to go vanilla, or do you try to do something creative with the guys you have? Like, what's the fit versus the scheme when you're looking at these practices and these different players?
Well, I think you got to have a base set of plays that you're going to hang your hat on. And, it's an all-star game. So you also want to have some fun. So I think we've tried to get pretty dynamic with the kind of stuff we've put in and try to be a little bit exciting, because that keeps the kids excited.
Absolutely.
If they're excited to line up, and there's a big chance that they're going to get the ball here, so I think it's finding a balance there, finding a balance between having, some bread and butter stuff that you think you can move the football with or line up and play this defense, but also having that little bit of pizzazz to keep the game exciting and keep the kids excited.
Coach, I know you've got about 1 million stories with this game. Is there one in particular that you can talk about that resonates most in your head, whether as a player, a coach, watching your son play? Give us that favorite memory that you talk about by the fire.
Well, watching my son play, and it was pretty high up there. I'll talk about a guy by the name of John Marska. John Marska went to academy. He coaches at the military academy at West Point right now. Met him in this game, playing in this game. Had a nice connection with him, carried that connection on after high school. When I got my first coaching job, he was down at Teal as the head coach, and started connecting with him and doing some chalk talk and used him as a big resource. So great relationship built. And that's, kind of what this game is. It's bringing people in from different backgrounds and putting them on a team together. And there's nothing better bonding than being on a team of some sort. So the relationships you can build in this game, to me, is really something that stands out as why this game is special.
I love that. We talked a little bit about players, how they fit in practice. Has anybody jumped out at you? I mean, I went down the roster. I'm looking at the McDowell trio. Myers, Ziegler, Porter, all had great seasons. All 2 of the 3 record holders. Who else has stood out to you in practice?
I mean, starting with Blaze Myers and Stephon Porter and James Ziegler, just 3 great kids. I had 2 of them in middle school, so I already had a relationship with them. They definitely stand out. Gio Crosby from Erie High really has been a guy in practice that's stood out as somebody that wants to compete. He brings an energy to practice. There's a smile on his face. He's jumping from position to position. He's made practices really intense, and I like that. I'm really impressed with that young man. Robbie Chevalier from my school, he's going to have to play both ways. He plays a tough position. Our wide tight end has really come to practice, and the physicality of all the kids really that's kind of stood out as shocking to me. But those guys really have been some guys that have stood out to me.
How about your guy Benford? He's listed as all-purpose. He didn't even give him an offensive position. I just see all-purpose. What's he going to do?
He was all-purpose for us for 3 years. I mean, he played just about every position but offensive line. I think he actually did at some point. He's going to play some free safety for us.
Okay.
Him and Gio Crosby, bring his name up again, are 2 guys that, are going to stand in the middle of the defense and try to get us lined up and do all the right stuff for us. But yeah, great kids.
So are you going to is it the Fairview defense, or are you going to try to utilize which sort of, what roster pieces you have? I looked at the Metro roster has, like, I told him this morning, I was like, you guys could play 11 defensive backs. It's not football smart, but you've got some real talent in that back end. Do you try to force, like a nickel secondary? You're going to try to go base? Like, how does the defense look when you have an all-star game?
Being familiar with Corey and Corey being pretty familiar with us, we play each other every year. We know what each other does.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a pretty familiar game for both teams. We're going to run our stuff from Fairview. With the talent we have on the back end in that secondary, might be able to play a little more man, be a little more aggressive, up front and do some things like that. Cause there is some kids that can one-on-one cover you. And that's exciting. That's exciting to have. I think we're going to mix it up. It's going to be a mixture of playing a little bit of nickel, because I know, the two quarterbacks, the kid from Corey and the kid from McLean, can really throw it. So, we've kind of focused on being prepared to defend them with how dynamic they are. Both great throwers.
We were talking about that a little bit this morning. The history of quarterback play in this game is unique because it's only graduating seniors. So a lot of sophomore, junior starting quarterbacks who have good seasons, whatnot, they're not eligible to play. And there are some years where we've had high school backups start in the Save-A-Night because there simply weren't enough senior quarterbacks available to play the game. This year, the top 3 passers in District 10 all in this game. Does that play differently for you in your mind? Are you prepared for more of a passing attack, or does that not change the algebra at all?
I think it changes it a whole bunch. I really think you better be able to defend the pass in this one, because we're prepared to throw it. Blaze is excited. Heath Betza from Harbor Creek. I mean, he's an outstanding, very, very smart kid. We coached against him, for 2 years now, and he throws it very, very well. And I think both guys being in there give us the ability to throw the ball. We're gonna throw it, and be ready to throw it. And I know there's that 15th throw minimum for both teams. I don't think that's going to be a factor. Because that was my next question.
Yeah,
where we didn't have a quarterback, and one of the years as an assistant, we didn't have one, and we ran a lot of sprint outs, because that counts as a pass. So we ran a lot of sprint out runs and counted those, and just looking at the official like that's 5. That this year I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Awesome, man. We got 30 seconds, Coach. I want to ask you one last question. You can only run one trick play this week. What are you dialing up?
I like crossing receivers, and getting some play action going one way and bringing a receiver back. So we're going to have some stuff like that penciled in here. Be prepared for.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much for coming in. All right. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Jeff Goodwill, the county coach. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. All right, welcome back. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk here on TalkErie.com, 105.9 FM. Paul Adamczyk joined by Isaac Petcash, and I see we should have coming into the studio shortly. Yes, we do. The county coach from Quarry High School, Coach Jeff Goodwill. Coach, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you doing, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me, guys.
It's awesome to have you here. We just had Coach Sobolewski on. He didn't talk too much crap on you, so feel free. He's,
good.
On his way back out. You can say whatever you want at this point.
I'm ready to talk a lot, so we should be all right.
I love it, man.
Yeah.
87 years of Save an Eye history. What does it mean to you to be leading this county team?
It means a lot. I keep talking about the history of the game and, being involved with it as a player, being involved with it one time as an assistant. So this is my first shot at being the head guy to lead the county, and I'm honored and excited to get the chance to do that. That's
awesome, man. Who has impressed you early on in practice?
Easy answer is all of them. I don't know what I expected going in, but man, we just have a group of really, really great kids. Every single one of them are super coachable. They immediately got to work. Like from the second we started day one, everybody's willing to do whatever they need to do to help the team, and it's been awesome.
Coach, I wanted to ask you just about your appointment first and foremost. You talked about the honor of it and your experience in the playing days, and of course as an assistant. When you look at the impact that this game has on this area in particular, can you just explain, I guess, for people that are outside the area, the actual honor of getting a chance to be head coach and what that means in terms of the value for you and your experience?
Yeah, there's a pretty large number of coaches in our region. We have 7 to 8 teams that we represent in the county. The coaches in this region, I mean, there's just an unbelievable group of coaches, guys that have been in football for so many years. As a head coach, I've only been doing this, I think I'm going into my 7th year. So, there's certainly guys around here with longer tenures than I've put in so far. So to be able to do that, so soon in my career, it's just it's an honor, and I can't wait to see what we can do out there.
We asked Coach Sobolewski this question, and I think Paul did a really great job of talking about earlier in the fact that you've got a ton of great players, but now you only have a certain amount of time that you can fit them in, right? 32 minutes is not necessarily, or a little bit longer than that, but it's not a long time to be able to get your kids into games. What's the key in balancing getting everybody in, trying to make sure everyone touches the football, but at the same time you want to win the game?
Yeah, that's probably the toughest part of it. I just got done talking with one of my assistants about the depth chart on offense and defensive line. Who are we going to start on offense? Who are we going to start on defense? Who are our first team guys on O&D? Who are our first team guys on both sides of the ball? It's kind of a difficult puzzle to put together. Every one of these kids deserves playing time. It's an all-star game. They're certainly going to get that playing time. Some will get more than others, and that's something we've discussed with the kids throughout the last week. But yeah, I mean, long answer short, it's difficult. It's difficult to fit those pieces together and still put together a competitive team. We're still working on it. Our depth chart, we tell the kids every day is a work in progress. So hopefully by Friday we have it set.
Yeah, 6:45 Friday. We'll figure it out.
There you go.
Taking a look at the rosters over the weekend. I looked at the Metro squad. I talked to Coach Sobes. I said, you guys could play 11 defensive backs. They are that deep in that position group. Looking at the county roster, man, you guys have an unbelievable, I say the trenches, offensive, defensive line group. And I don't think that's even the most difficult position for you to try to figure out this week. The coaching, or I should say the quarterback room on the county roster this year, just between the two guys, over 5,000 yards and 62 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Record setters at both their programs. One of them is your guy.
Uh-huh.
How is that going to shake out? What can we expect to see there? Can you play two quarterbacks at the same time?
I wish. I wish. Yeah, like we have two of the better quarterbacks to come through our area.
Yes.
On the same team, so that's difficult. And then to make things even more interesting, like you said, we are very heavy in the trenches, and we are pretty light at the receiver position. So we've had to move some kids around. Take some first team defensive back type guys, make them receivers as well. But as far as the quarterbacks go, I told them very early on that it's going to be a split time. We're just going to go every other series.
Okay.
The really cool thing is we have Nolan's center as a first team all region guy. We have Isaac center as a first team all region guy. So we're gonna play the centers that they're used to. So when Isaac's in, Sayers will be in there snapping the football, and when Nolan's in, Albers will be snapping the football. So that's kind of cool.
I love that.
That's half the battle, I feel like, early in games, is making sure you get the center quarterback exchange, because it's easier said than done.
Right.
So at least you have that going for you, which is nice.
Yeah, a lot of familiarity there with those two guys, so that's good. That worked out.
I'm sure you've got a lot of experience, Coach, and memories, right? Coach Sobolewski brought up some people that were impactful for him in this game, but you've had, I'm sure, a lot of opportunity to get to experience some cool memories with this. Is there one from Save and I that sticks out to you in particular that maybe you told the players at the beginning, maybe you laugh and joke with other coaches about? Something that sticks in your head from your previous Save and I experiences.
As a player?
Sure.
I know I'm the same age as Jovan Johnson, and he was playing at Mercier's prep. So I was, on the county. He was, of course, on the city. I got to tackle him one time. So, I didn't think I had the feet to do that, but I must have taken a great angle. And
I was thinking that. I was like, wow, to catch him, that's pretty good, Coach.
Well, I didn't catch him. He wasn't full speed. It was in the backfield. So I think I must have taken a really great angle. He probably stumbled or something. But
you got to play that up, man. His office is right across the way from mine. I can get on him the whole day if you want.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to talk any trash on Coach Johnson. He's an awesome guy, and but yeah, that's one of the things that sticks out to me, because I think the next day in the paper there was maybe the picture of it or something. I don't know, maybe that's why it sticks out. But yeah,
that one's got to be hanging on the wall in your office. That should be your background.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
First man in human history to tackle Jovan Johnson.
Yeah.
Coach, I want to talk about practicing a little bit. It's a truncated season. Or practice window. You've got all these guys coming in. How do you balance the talent that you have on your roster versus the fit of what you're trying to do in the game, your offense?
Yeah, well, I'm defensively, practice is pretty simple. They kind of tell us what we can do defensively with to keep things pretty simple. So that wasn't difficult. Special teams has been challenging, just trying to fit guys in. Trying to get guys to volunteer first to do special teams, and then seeing where guys fit there. We're still working on that. But offensively, that's the biggest. I don't want to say headache, but it's difficult. As an offensive guy myself, I look at these players that we have, the quarterbacks, the guys we have in the backfield, a couple of guys at receiver. I want to throw everything in my mind at them. There's so many things that you could do with these guys given the right amount of time and preparation, but I got to remind myself to keep it simple. We got to keep things very, very simple as we install things. So
what are the from a coaching perspective, what are the non-negotiables you bring to coaching regardless of roster? What are you trying to hammer home to these guys in practices? What do you get, like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks?
Yeah, not even 2 weeks.
Jeez.
Yeah,
8 practices?
We started last Monday, and then, the banquet is this Thursday, so it's really only, 8 days there, unless you practice on the weekends. So it's been short. It's been short, which is fine. Sorry, what was the question?
What are the non-negotiables? What are you trying to bring home for the guys who are there? What it means to play in the Save and I, what it means to step up and play special teams, things of that nature.
Yeah, anytime we step on the football field, regardless of it, our Corey guys or it's an all-star game or whatever, just bring honor to the game by having fun, right? Like football is fun. Like that's why we play it. And especially in an all-star game, I want these guys to have a great experience and have fun with it. And then two, max effort all the time. You honor the game and those that played it before you by giving your all, respecting the game by giving max effort at all times.
Coach, lastly, if we have a second here, Paul, I just want to ask from a Corey perspective, you guys are coming off of an incredible season, right? You tie for the Region 5 championship. You had more wins than anybody else in that region. Just from the beginning of this year till now, an opportunity for the staff to participate in the Save and I game. How impactful and important is this time period going to be and have been for Corey football as you just move forward now with an opportunity to continue that success with the program? This last year, what has it meant to your team and the coaches and things of that nature?
Yeah, you don't build a good program without consistency. I've been blessed with an unbelievable staff, guys that have been there year in and year out, working their tails off. That they're unbelievable, and they've been consistently there, working towards the same goal. So to be able to honor them too, to give them an opportunity to coach in this all-star game has meant a lot. And additionally, my defensive coordinator, Travis Carey, is Nolan's dad, so he gets a chance to coach him one more time. And then our running backs, line coach, Mike Lesher, his son is Nick Lesher. So I got two dads on staff that had the opportunity just one more time to step on the high school field with them. So just awesome to get those guys the opportunity. As far as our community goes, Corey is kind of tucked away, away from the rest of Erie County. Sometimes maybe forgotten, I don't know. But to be able to put us on the map, so to speak, and coach this game and give awareness to our little community here. There's a lot of great things going on here. We have a lot of great kids, and I guess that's the last thing to mention. When you're putting a great program together, you don't win football games without great kids, and we certainly have that here.
Coach, we appreciate you taking the time this morning to talk to us. Very much looking forward to doing the game, seeing the game, watching you guys play. I've got one last question for you. It's kind of a fun one. We had fun with Coach Sobes. Here's my question for you. Which coach in the county would you least want to play against in a backyard football game, and why?
In a backyard football game, so tackle football?
Tackle football, no pads.
Oh, this is an easy answer.
Which coach in the county?
Which coach in the county? Least want to play against.
Trying to think here.
This is number.
I don't know. Probably Sobes. He's intense. He's intense.
He's intense.
I don't have that kind of intensity anymore. I'm getting old. I used to be intense. I don't have it though.
I don't know. My first thought was Mark Brooks.
I thought the same.
I passed him. He was just doing a little workout with a couple of guys. Man, that guy's intense too.
Well, if he's working out, I don't want to compete against him either because I don't do that very often. In fact, I'm icing my knee right now because I demonstrated a couple things last Friday to the kids. So
that's the best part of Coach Van.
That's where video comes into play.
Yeah,
Coach Goodwill, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Save and I game this Friday. We'll see you there. When we get back, we'll play everyone's favorite game, Overreaction Monday. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk, brought to you by Quick Fill. All right, welcome back, Erie. You're listening to Flagship City Sports Talk. Paul Adamczak filling in for Nick Artman today.
Slacker.
I know. You know, it's nice one day and he takes the day off. Isaac Petcash joining us as well. Isaac, thank you for being here, man. Good show so far. Save and I in the first block.
Yeah.
We got to talk to both coaches. You and I getting set to do this game, call this game this Friday. We've had a couple of commercials play, you know, during the show here, and I'm just like listening to it, and I'm like telling Rich, I'm like, oh man, I remember that play. I'm so fired up for the game, man. We could do this last block just talking Save and I, but I don't want to do that. I don't want to kill everybody with Save and I.
Paul, really quickly, I think on Wednesday, if we did, because by the way, we're going to notify this on social media. We're going to be doing a live pregame show on the Gem City Sports Network on Friday before the game, just so all of you know. That's exciting. I think we should do a list of top 10 Paul Adamczak greatest Save and I calls.
You've done enough of them. We could.
I was
going to
say, I actually, if you just take one call per year, you probably could.
That'd be
We've
pretty
done
sweet.
this game a long time.
That's what I'm saying. Coach Sobes is in here talking about feeling old, and I'm like, oh man, I've been a part of more Save and I's than you have. But no, that's great. It sounds like more work for Rich this week, but I'm interested in the final product. I mean, that's like
We'll see what we can do.
a digital
We'll put it that
resume
way.
for me, is it not? Isaac, this is going off the rails in the best
Hey,
way.
it's okay.
Can we get to Overreaction Monday here?
Let's do it.
All right. Do you want to start? Or do you want me to start?
I think you should start. You said you got a couple of good ones.
Well, I said I have a couple of them just in case you need more, but we'll do our best here. I want to start with the Erie Seawolves. 30 years, Isaac. Clinched his playoff spot by winning the first half of the season in the Eastern League this past week. This will be the Wolves' fourth straight playoff appearance. The last two, of course, ended with champagne and trophies. Isaac, I think Erie's pitching and hitting, they're primed for a three-peat in the MILB. What say you?
I don't think that's an overreaction at all. And I think, people would tell you, well, pump the brakes. They're going to lose guys because of the trade deadline in the second half of the season. Oh, yeah, but Max Clark and Kevin McGonigal are slated to get called up to Erie at some point, certainly in the near future. Keep in mind, we were talking to Roger Castillo of Tigers Minor League Report in our last episode. And one of the things he said was the depth in this organization is remarkable. They have, I believe there's 4 total teams, at least 3 total teams in the Tigers organization that are in the playoffs for minor leagues. They just have an ability now with the new front office and what they've been able to do under AJ Hinch since he came to Detroit. The way they've built their prospect pipeline, being number 1 in MLB's rankings, having so many guys that could be in the pros right now, but just aren't, because there's not enough space for them. I really think unless Detroit were to make such a big trade where it guts one specific organization like Erie, I wouldn't be surprised at all if you see them back in the championship and winning this thing. I mean, keep in mind, they had to win 6 more games this year to win the first half than they did last year, and the last 2 years of teams were incredible. I think their team this year is even better, and it would not shock me at all. I think they're the best team in the Eastern League, and even if they lose 3 or 4 guys, they're going to get 2 or 3 more that are going to be just as good, if not better.
I'm with you. I just look at you mentioned it. It's the depth. They lost the 2-time reigning manager of the year. They slide in somebody else, and it doesn't matter. You could get Rich and I down there to manage that baseball team. The talent in that club is unbelievable. I think a three-peat is not outside of the question. I think they should be the betting favorites.
It's amazing to me. You look at the way in the early 2000s that the Seawolves just struggled, right? Because there weren't enough prospects available. The Tigers organization, I think for all intents and purposes, you could label a mess. And getting to the playoffs was just a godsend at that point. Now you're looking at what you could argue, and I know we don't typically track dynasties in minor league baseball, but I mean, you're in the midst of a dynasty right now for Erie.
Just the fact that you're talking about it should say something, right?
And if they can win a 3rd straight championship, I mean, that would be something that we've rarely seen before, if ever. I don't know as much as others do in minor league baseball history, but we're certainly getting to that point right now where you're looking at one of, if not the greatest, 3 to 4, even 5-year stretches in minor league baseball history.
I agree completely. What do you have for me?
You want me to go? All right. So for those of you who didn't watch the whole game or don't care about basketball, the Thunder came away with a championship win last night, albeit they wouldn't have won the game if Tyrese wouldn't have torn his ACL. I firmly believe that.
Oh, okay.
Paul,
Spicy.
I got to admit, And I know Indiana played really well and they had a great run. I wasn't as impressed with Oklahoma City as I thought I was going to be in the finals. They didn't have the oomph that I figured that they would have, or that I was told that they had during the regular season. So, as us who follow the Cavs and people who
Yeah.
know that they were woefully subpar, you could argue, in the playoffs this
Mhm.
season, I look at that series and I think, you know what, we're not that far off. So I'm going to go the opposite direction that I had a couple of months ago, where I said they should trade one of their core four. No, they should keep their core four and do everything they can to trade for Giannis Antetokounmpo. Go all in this season
Woo!
to win a championship. I think that they're closer than people realize.
All right, like when I listen to these, I kind of like think ahead. Where's he going to go with this? And I start formulating an answer. I did not have Giannis anywhere on the horizon in my mind. So you kind of, I'm taken aback a little bit. Just from a pure basketball perspective, I want Giannis on my team for sure. I don't know how you facilitate that without moving any of those core four. And I also look at, you have two of those core four are bigs already. So if you bring in a third big, are you going to play three bigs? Probably not, which means you got to put somebody on the bench. I mean, yeah, you have all-stars in all the time. It's going to be a rotating thing. Man, that's tough. I was thinking you keep the guards. You have two bigs. This is more of a guard-dominated league, especially you talked about the finals. OKC has some length, but they're not huge.
No.
Going back to your OKC thing, I actually like the way they play. I enjoy watching a team that takes a lot of twos, takes a lot of a lot of passes. They don't force a lot of three-point shots. Just run up the court, clank, rebound, and we're running the other way. I love that they play defense, the second highest net rating defensive team of all time. I like the way they play. I think they're going to be around for a while. SGA is 26 years old. Do I think the Cavs should go after Giannis? Yes. Do I think it makes them a better team? Absolutely. How much do you have to get rid of from that bench, that depth that it would take to get him on your roster? I'm not sure about that, because I think both the teams in the final showed that it's not just your top five who contribute to championships. You need 6, 7, 8, sometimes even 9 guys to go 7 rounds.
Yeah, I think I look at the Cavs right now, and the one guy that they're missing, just from my outside perspective, is a guy who can play the entire floor, right? They've got Mobley and Allen who can play inside. They have the shooting touch of Mitchell and Garland, but they don't have a hybrid player, right? Mitchell can take it to the rack occasionally. I just feel like they need that guy who he can box out when he needs to. He can also drive the ball when he needs to. And he's somebody that people will be afraid of when he drives. I don't think when Mitchell drives, the Indianas and the Bostons of the world are like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to crush us. They need that guy who can just power his way through. If they get Giannis and they're able to keep even 3 of the 4 core 4, I think this team's versatile in all areas. And again, the Thunder aren't going to be going anywhere, but I think the Cavs are young enough where they shouldn't be going anywhere either. And this would be the move that I think would shock a lot of people and put a lot of shock and awe into the rest of the league.
100%, not an overreaction at all. I hear the music. That means we're probably out of time. Isaac, thank you so much for joining. Obviously, thanks to the coaches Sobolewski and Goodwill for joining us this morning. Save and I game this Friday, pregame right here and online, Gem City Sports Network. Erie, thank you for joining us today. My name's Paul Adamczak. I'm signing off for Isaac Petcash and Rich Smith. Have a great Monday. We'll see y'all next time.